what do we do about the problem with the high cost of veterinary care?
Hmm.
And this is something that I've been talking about for a while is it's outrageous that we haven't gotten the veterinary profession together to advocate for a redirection of public funds away from these harmful corporations towards providing community-based, publicly funded veterinary care for all animals. Like, I work in clinics that are funded by the government and donations, and we, spay neuter 100 community cats in a day and do things like that. And it's a fun job. People who do this line of work don't suffer the burnout that general practice veterinarians suffer from because we have a very
Hmm.
rewarding job. We don't have to talk about money. People either get it for free or the cost is very upfront and very affordable. Everybody's
Yeah.
grateful for the service that we provide. So we don't get all of the hate that general practice and emergency vets get. And we love the work. Why can't we fund more of these clinics and get more veterinarians involved with these clinics? And why are veterinarians super angry at these billion-dollar corporations that are taking millions of our tax dollars, whether we buy their products or not? There's definitely like vivarium-based research is outdated. And
Hmm.
as we've seen with bird flu, we should be funding a lot more epidemiological research in the field, discovering the spread of these viruses. And we've developed so many new treatments for our animal companions and other animals through clinic based research on animals. We could afford to do all these diagnostics that most people can't afford for their animals if it was part of a study. So you come into the vet, your dog is now part of a study, and all of your
Yeah.
diagnostics and everything are going to be publicly funded for the betterment of society
And shared to all,
and
so you have more
shared.
transparency. We could give every animal in America free healthcare, basically.
We spend $38 billion each year propping up outdated methods of protein production,
Hmm.
while we also spend $38 billion a year privately on veterinary care for our animals. Literally just redirect those funds and we could pay for the healthcare of all dogs
And
and cats.
$20 billion in taxpayer money for whatever the PC term is for vivisection through the NIH.
Vivarium-based research, animal
It's a
research.
mouthful.
Um, yeah,
Why?
the weird because the whole animal rights, ending animal experimentation, I hate that because
Why?
it's immediately dismissed because I want animal experimentation, but
Why do you want animal
I
experimentation?
want us to be able to research the other beings in the world. I think it can be done with the same respect that we give to when we experiment on human infants, which we do. We have to test things on human infants to make sure that it works. And
But we're
children who
testing on
can't
human
consent.
infants to save human infants. We're not testing on dogs to save dogs. We're testing on dogs to save
We
humans.
are testing on dogs to save dogs. And I am against experimentation that is not species directed. So I don't think that you should be doing an experiment on the wrong species in hopes that it will benefit another species. And merely for the
Right.
purpose because of that, if we were to do it on the appropriate species, it would cause harm to the appropriate
But
species.
that's the
Then you shouldn't be doing
overwhelming
that.
amount of research that we're doing on
How
animals.
what
Like,
percentage? Do you have the numbers behind that?
well, in
Um,
Michigan, they were doing tests just last year of giving cocaine to monkeys and depriving them of food and water to see if they can, what cognitive disabilities they might have. There was another one at Madison where they were taking monkeys and playing loud noises through the night so that they wouldn't be able to get to sleep, and then seeing if they can depriving them of food and water and forcing them to do tricks to see if you could
yeah,
pull an all-nighter and still pass tests, which we all know you can't. Or
I mean,
University of Massachusetts, where they were taping hand warmers to baby monkeys to see if they can mimic the effects of human menopause, a condition that monkeys don't experience, in
mhm.
order to see if they, once they are deprived of food and water, if they can do cognitive experiments. Like, These are ongoing experiments that are happening right now.
Yeah, we have houseless people out there on the streets right now who
Right.
don't have access to medical care. We could be providing publicly funded healthcare to them with these funds and give them the diagnostics they need, advancing medicine, but we're not doing that. We're instead wasting our money doing outdated animal experiments. It's really frustrating. And if anybody out there wants to come on and discuss this, and like you are doing research on a species for the benefit of humans and you want to talk about it, like, come on, I am happy to have a respectful conversation about it. You know, the way I talk to Sky, like, I disagree with Sky all the time.
You
I don't
do,
know if I'm
but,
kind of a bitch, but,
you're not a
you
bitch,
know,
but, like, but it makes me I appreciate our relationship because you make me think, but, just one last thing about the animal experimentation. If we don't call for abolition, then we don't have a strong negotiating position.
have
So if I call
primate
for the abolition of
sanctuary.
primate
Yeah.
research, you push back on
It's
that?
the right term because know our friend Dr. Zamzat works in a sanctuary, and I'm sure she would love access to public funding to do research on the primates that she takes care of
I
and
don't think she'd wanna
provide
experiment on them. I don't think she
diagnostics to them, and maybe even, like, is there some rare disease that those primates have or that she has one with some weird disease that they discovered through the extensive publicly funded diagnostics that they've uncovered, and they wanna develop a treatment, an individualized treatment for that primate and see how it
yeah.
works. There's risks and benefits to this all, but, this given all of our modeling, this seems to work. I think she would appreciate that, like, "Let's try it on this primate." This
But modeling is not the same thing as animal experimentation, like,
well, we
modeling
would it
something
might end up where we have developed a drug that is tailored to that individual, and now we
doing
get
some kind of
go back
clinical trial on
yeah,
a
into that, do a clinical trial. So that would be experimentation. There already are institutional review boards, which even for human beings still are problematic because there's bullying and
yes,
retaliation of the dissenting voice.
yes,
So we need to be able to have these sorts of panels where people can dissent and stop
yes.
something from going forward without being retaliated against.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I would even go so far as to agree with, like, if you're trying to test the new, I don't know, monkey aspirin for monkeys, and you have monkeys that have headaches, and you've got this idea, like, that type of experimentation might actually help the lives of monkeys, but that is a far cry from what we're talking about the NIH doing, and that's just not what they're doing. They're doing these horrific Dr. Mengele style stuff. It's
Yeah.
always this, like, swim fail tests or cracking their skulls with hammers to see if head trauma makes them more afraid of like
Mhm.
of birds or something. They were seeing if monkeys were afraid of spiders on their food and if head trauma changed that. Like, what in the hell are we doing? Sometimes you find stuff out and it's so horrific and it's so disgusting that you're left with no other option but to call for abolition.
The people who call for abolition, you can call for abolition. It's not our honors message. Like other
Mhm.
groups can and will counter with like, look, those guys clearly they have a different philosophy than we do. We are saying we need to not do vivarium based research. We need to redirect public funds away from that and support epidemiological clinic based research on
Yeah.
studies that are species directed for the species that those studies are for the benefit of that animal, not for the benefit of a species that's not.
My understanding of epidemiological studies is something that we would do via observation in
Just
more
diagnostics in a lot of animals.
yeah,
Yeah.
in existing situations, not sticking them in labs and observing them, but being like we're talking like Jane Goodall going out there and taking some
Yeah, but
samples and
like,
stuff.
imagine you bring your dog to the vet, and every time you
Yeah,
bring them to the vet, if they're compliant, we're like, "Oh, we're gonna get some blood, feces, swabs of their
run some
eyes,
tests,
urine,
yeah.
and we're gonna run the gamut. We're gonna test them
Mhm.
for everything, and because we just wanna know what do dogs have out there." And you're gonna
Yeah.
benefit from that, and you don't have to pay anything because that's for the public good.
Mhm.
That's what I envision. And
Yeah.
your spay and neuter is gonna be publicly funded because that's for the public good. And all of your vaccines are publicly funded because that's for the public good. But this can only work in a society where we decide we are not selling animals for profit, or else we're just
Yes.
subsidizing breeders who wanna
Agreed.
sell animals for profit. But that's the future that I envision. Like, imagine being a vet at a clinic where you don't have to have the money talk with anybody. Like,
Mhm.
we are your any dog who comes into your clinic, cat who comes into your clinic, they're part of a study, and you just get to treat them, run all the diagnostics you want to, like imaging. It's all part of the study for the public good. Imagine what we'll find with all of that if we could do all the diagnostics that we wanted to.